Okay. So yesterday I gave you the two endpoints of a segment. I gave you like x1, y1, and x2, y2, and then you had to find whatever the coordinates of were for the midpoint, right? Okay. So if we'll look at that first question, it says find the coordinates of A, okay, if P is the midpoint. So today they're giving me a midpoint instead of the endpoints, okay? So we're finding the coordinates of A if P is the midpoint of segment AB and B has coordinates 8 and 3. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this, and then we're going to tie it to this equation, okay? We have to work a little bit backwards.
I'm going to work backwards, Ms. Bridges.
Make it a little bit more hard. Challenge your brain. Make you think.
It's going to be like this on the quiz?
Possibly, yeah. We might have a couple.
So we got to know like both ways?
Well, it's the same formula. You're just using it a little differently. Okay. All right, so let's use what we've got listed up here. We're looking for P. Okay, this is P right here. Or actually, we're looking for A. So we're looking for X1 and we're looking for Y1. Now, it tells me that P is the ordered pair 3 and then 1/2. But we don't like fractions, right? We don't like dealing with fractions. So what's 1/2 as a decimal?
0.5.
0.5. So I'm just going to change it to that because we can deal with that a little easier. And then it tells me that B has the coordinates of 8 and 3. So I'm going to change that here to 8 and 3. Okay. So yesterday we were given these endpoints and we found the middle point. Today we're given one endpoint and the midpoint and we want to find the other endpoint. Everybody understand what the focus is on what we're doing? Okay. So this is what we're going to do is we're going to use our formula. Remember, this is x1, y1, this is x2, y2. And this is what my m is right here, except for they call it p in this question. So our formula says we take x1 plus x2 and we divide it by 2. So x1 plus x2. And we divide it by 2, right? Except for I just don't know what that first term is. Is everybody following me so far? Okay. I'm going to write it on here so it'll be in the video as well. So we're doing x1 plus our x2, and we're dividing that by 2. Excuse me. And the result of that, adding this plus this and dividing by 2, is going to be what this x value is. So what is it going to equal? 3. So I'm going to set this equal to 3. So far, so good? Now what we have to do is we have to solve that equation. So if I have x plus 8, or we call it x sub 1, but it's still x, plus 8 divided by 2 equals 3. Think about how I would solve that equation. If I want to be able to get this x1 by itself, I need to get rid of the 8, and I also need to get rid of that 2, right? If it were being added to the x, yes, we would use -2. But this 2 is being what? What does that fraction bar mean? What operation? Divided by. So how do you undo division? You multiply. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply both sides of this equation by 2. Everybody ready? When I multiply this by 2, this divided by 2 and multiplied by 2, those cancel each other out, okay? That leaves me with just what's left at the top of that fraction, the x sub 1 plus 8. And then I'm going to multiply 3 times 2 over here, which gives me 6.
Ms. Bridges?
Yes?
You got a YouTube channel?
I do, but I don't have it. It's not public. I post the videos on Canvas. I can show you in just a minute where they are. And then if I wanted to solve this for x, what would I do with that 8? Subtract it over. So what would x sub 1 equal with 6 minus 8? -2. So the x sub 1 we just found was -2. Again, I'm going to work this out on here so it'll be on the video when I post it. We're going to multiply both sides by 2 again. We got to get rid of that divided by 2. Those cancel, so that leaves me with x sub 1 plus 8. Nope. Is equal to 6, and then I subtract that 8 over, and so the x sub 1 gives me negative 2. So for A, the first part is negative 2. But a coordinate not only has an x value, but it also has a y value. So we're basically going to repeat the process, but with the y's this time. So we're going to repeat that process with our y's. We're going to start y1 plus what we have labeled as y2 is 3, divided by 2. Again, I'm just following this formula right here. And what is that one going to equal this time? 0.5. Okay, setting this up, exact same thing, except for we're just finding the y value this time. I'm going to erase that and start over. So I get y sub 1 plus 3 divided by 2 equals my 0.5. And then to solve, we do it exactly the same way. How do we get rid of this 2? Multiply. Those are going to cancel. That leaves me with the y sub 1 plus 3. What's 1/2 times 2?
Mario?
What's half of 2? 1. Okay. All right, 0.5 times 2 is 1. 1/2 of 2 is 1. If you're not sure, we can use calculators. Sorry. And then I need to continue to solve this for y sub 1, so I'm going to just subtract my 3 over. And I get another negative 2.
What you do with that too?
You put it over here in your ordered pair,
I ain't gonna lie, Miss Bridget.
and that's your answer.
I ain't gonna lie. I don't know what you can just say, baby.
Yeah. This one's just taking it a step further, making it a little bit harder.
We're gonna have to do this on the quiz? This too, like,
I made the quiz like 3 weeks ago, so I'll have to look back. I can't really remember, but probably. Maybe not too many of them, but.
and question is only like 10, right?
I can't remember how many I put on there. I remember I made it like 3 weeks ago, so I don't really remember. So my answer to this, my coordinates for A are negative 2 and negative 2. Okay, kind of hard, especially the first time you do it, right? We're going to do it again. Take a look at that second example. So again, I'm going to do this on here again so it's on the video if you happen to look at that. So my segment is QS. My midpoint is R. Q is what I'm looking for, so I'm calling that X1, Y1. R is 6, negative 1. S is 12 and 4. So we're going to start with the X's, which we already, we already did, but I'm going to do it here so we have it on the video. X1 plus X2 divided by 2. Nope, I wrote the wrong letter there, or the wrong number, sorry. That's a 12. And that's going to equal 6. And so then to undo this divided by 2, we multiply both sides by 2. That gives me X sub 1. This is what I already did. I'm just doing it here so it's on the video. And then we subtract 12. And so we get X sub 1 equals 0. So that's my first answer. But now I have to repeat the process with my Y values so that I can get an ordered pair for my answer. And that's what we're about to do now. So we're going to do Y1 plus Y2. I just highlighted those. So Y1 plus Y2 divided by 2 is going to equal the Y value of my midpoint. Okay. And again, every time you set it up when you're working backwards like this, the very first thing you're going to do is multiply both sides by 2 so that you can get rid of that divided by. That's going to be Y sub 1 plus 4 equals, what is negative 1 times 2? Negative 2. And then I need to get that Y by itself, so I'm going to subtract 4 over. And what is negative 2 minus 4 going to give me? Negative 2 minus 4. Negative 6, yep. So my Y value is negative 6, and that is my answer. The ordered pair 0, negative 6 is the coordinate for Q. Okay, so you will have to work backwards. Just remember, set it up. Your x's added together divided by 2 equals the x of your midpoint, and work backwards to get your answer.
You practicing that today?
It'll be on your homework, yeah. Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
It's a bit struggle, but it's okay.
So,
You sure? All right, we got to move on to the next definition. Everybody ready? So the next thing we're going to talk about is a bisector. We talked about midpoints yesterday. Midpoint was in the middle, so it made 2 congruent segments, correct? If you bisect something, do you know what that means? Okay, if you think about the prefix bi, like bicycle, how many wheels does that have? 2, right? So to bisect something means to cut something into 2 pieces, right? And they're going to be 2 congruent pieces. So this sentence says the midpoint separates a segment into 2 congruent segments. That's what we learned yesterday. Okay, the midpoint cuts a segment into 2 congruent segments. Therefore, we can say that the midpoint bisects the segment. Okay, that cuts it in half. Any segment, line, plane, or point that bisects a segment is called a segment bisector. So in your directions of any problem, if they tell you that something is a bisector, a segment bisector, what it's telling you is that cuts that segment into 2 equal pieces. Is everybody okay with that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's look at that first example. Excuse me. It says find the measure of RT, that's the length of RT, if T is the midpoint of RQ. That means T does what to segment RQ? Cuts in half. What's the word we just learned? Bisects. Okay. So look at your picture. RQ is your segment. T is the bisector. It's in the middle. It's the midpoint. And I want to find the length of RT. That means I need to find X. Any idea on how I could set up an equation to find X? Perfect. 2x plus 3, this little piece, is going to equal 4x minus 5 because T is in the middle, therefore those 2 smaller pieces are congruent. So we can just set them equal to each other and solve for X. So go ahead and do that. Solve that equation for X for me, please. I don't know. I need to. Well, you want to get the X's on one side and get the stuff without an X on the other side. Okay, if you need to, if it helps, remember your equation or your equal sign is like your fence. You want your X's on, oh, it didn't write, did it? You want your X's on one side of that equal sign. You want everything else on the other side. That tablet's probably about to cut off. It did not write, so let me put it up here. Oh, there it goes. All right, so I want to get my X's together. Do you guys want to take the 2X and move it over with the 4X, or do you want to move the 4X with the 2X? All right, so that 2X is positive, right? So how do I move it to the other side? Subtract it. So we're going to subtract our 2X over. When I bring that 3 down, what kind of 3 is it? It's what's in front of that 3? A negative, yep.
You used to go to Lincoln?
Did I go to Lincoln?
You went to school there? No. Oh, you?
Right. So you see that negative in front of that 3? That needs to come down. 4X minus 2X gives me 2X. I'm going to also bring down that negative 5. It does say plus 3, right? I'm wrong. Okay. There, thank you for making that correction before I just copied the question down wrong. Uh-oh.
And what you do from there is put X's again.
Okay, now you want to get that 2x by itself. So that minus 5 that's next to it, you want to get rid of that. So how do you move that? How do you move that minus 5 over? Add it. Yeah, I'm going to come over here.
What day we got the quiz?
Tuesday.
I can take my Wednesday.
No.
If I don't finish on Tuesday, then can I finish on Wednesday? Yeah.
And then if I divide by 2, what do I get? What does x equal? 4. Did they ask me to find x, though? No, wait, they want me to find RT. Okay, what is RT represented as? 2x plus 3. So that what we do is we just plug that in. 2 times 4 plus 3. What's 2 times 4? And 8 plus 3 is 11. So RT is equal to 11. So we had to find x first, setting up our 2 equations, or our 2 parts equal to each other. Then once we find x, we plugged it back in to find the length of RT, which is what they were asking for. Is everybody kind of okay with that?
Oh.
Yes, we do.
So after you got your X, you just went to the other thing and you just
Put it in there. All right, go ahead and try those next two. Find RS and find AC.